I'm Corbitt with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, October the 23rd, brought to you in part by Superior Steel Sales. It's the go-to place for pipe and steel if you're looking to build your own corrals. And that's also the home of Superior Steel Sales, Superior Standard livestock handling equipment, which is super heavy, tough, guys, but you can still move it around. Very popular, doesn't bend, doesn't break. They have dealers all over the country, and you look on this map and you can see them. You don't have to go to Southwest Missouri. You can pick up their products at any of these dealers here. And if you have a dealership and you handle livestock equipment and you don't see your area represented on this map, get a hold of them at Superior Steel Sales and see about getting a dealership because they are looking to expand, guys. For more information, go to superiorsteelsales.com. Trump rattles the cattle industry, and I do mean rattled. I was very disappointed as a Trump supporter since the very get-go, and I've been very outspoken about how much I support Trump and his views and his issues and his stances on everything pretty much. But I was very disappointed on Wednesday when he come out with a post on Truth Social, and somebody sent it to me right away, and I didn't believe it. I thought it was fake news, but sure enough it wasn't. But basically paraphrasing, he said, talking to the ranchers, said, as much as I love the ranchers, they don't understand that I am totally responsible for this fantastic market that they're enjoying right now, and if it hadn't been for me, they'd be doing terrible like they have been for the last 20 years. And I mean, it was a jolt. I mean, how insulting is that to the cattle people? I tell you what, I don't know how he misjudged us so much. But in fact, Trump misremembers his role in the historical cattle market rally. He did not have a role in it. Even with Biden, we were well on our way. And the reason we were well on our way has been well advertised. It was been years and years, basically 10 years, and go down a long ways. It could be as many as 30 or 40 years of timely droughts in our major production areas. And we have whittled our cow herd down to nothing. It's been a lot of push from urban sprawl. It's been a lot of push from hunting reserves and things like that, and people using the land for recreation rather than cattle production. And basically, before this market rally come on this last time, we were pretty much just down to the cattle producers that were just doing it for the love of the game. They did it because they loved it. It didn't make sense. As you tried to write it down, pencil it out, it didn't make any sense, and a lot of them were getting frustrated. But then finally it all caught up, and it also caught up right in line with our cycle, and it was time for the markets to go back up. And now we've extended that, so we've kind of blown the cycle out of water because we've extended it now. But finally these cow-calf producers start getting paid for their calves, and getting paid enough to where they can live more like they want to live, like they can upgrade equipment, like they can make improvements around their place, they can pay some of their old debt off and some things like that. And how refreshing has it been to be able to do that. But I tell you what, that post, it made me mad. My phone was blowing up, and even the biggest Trump supporters that I know were all mad at what he put out on Truth Social. And I tried to find as much out about it as I could. I'll share as much as I can with you folks on this. But I tell you what, they were ready to put out an announcement. The Secretary of Agriculture is ready to put out an announcement about some of the things she was going to do to try to promote larger herds domestically here in our cattle production. And so we were kind of, and I told you about it on the last visit, we were getting ready for that, and kind of excited to hear what she was going to say. Well, my good friend Jack Payne got invited to go to that. and he was there on site for the announcement. He had made friends with Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins here just a few weeks ago, when he and a contingent of other folks from out west that graze public lands like he does went out and had a meeting with her, and got along really well with her. And in fact, it was this weekend, it was actually here today, that they were expecting that Brooke Rollins was going to be in Nevada livestock marketing in the auction there, and have a group meeting, a roundtable type discussion with producers there. And of course, everybody in Nevada, you know, I think it's over 85% of the ground is owned by the government. So everybody there grazes public lands. And so we were looking forward to that. We were going to be broadcasting that on DVAuction so everybody could see it, and pretty excited about it. But as it turns out, the day before, or on Tuesday, I guess, get our days right, on Tuesday, Trump had a sit-down roundtable meeting with establishment beef. And anytime you get establishment beef involved and the leadership in that, things are going to go haywire. Yes, establishment beef, the ones that hog all of your beef checkoff dollars and seem to be on the wrong side of every issue as it relates to the small producer every time it comes back around. Of course, you know, they're also representing the packers, which is, you know, the coyotes watching the hen house there. So, you know, you get nervous every time the leaders from establishment beef show up to speak for the industry, when almost all your small producers are fed up with them. And then you had some other people that were leaders and supposed to be representing a bunch of other individuals and smaller groups that are supposed to have a common thing in mind about how to fix the cattle industry and how to promote it and things like that. Well, they pissed him off. You don't piss Trump off. He's boss, whether you like it or not. Instead of going in there, hat in hand, hat that you pulled off the rack in hand, going in there and giving him the respect that he deserves and thanking him for the things that he's been doing to keep the screwworm out of the country. But in fact, your establishment beef wasn't all that big on keeping the border closed to stop the screwworms, because their state affiliates down the Southern Plains desperately want that border open. So they haven't been too big on that, haven't been in favor of country of origin labeling, which most everybody in the industry is shaking their head out and they can't believe it. But yes, they pissed him off. They decided that the things that he'd said earlier in the week about maybe getting more beef from Argentina to try to get the prices down for beef at the retail level and the food service level. So they were just standing strong on that, by God, and evidently basically demanded that he walk that back, or they weren't going to come to the announcement that was to happen on Wednesday. If anybody's watched Trump, followed Trump, seen his path, knows how he is, he's not going to take that very well. You have to remember, Trump is always 2 to 3 moves ahead of everybody else, always. And he has been working with the president of Argentina, trying to get a good relationship going with them so he can do a lot of trading. As it turns out, Argentina has a large supply of rare earth minerals that we desperately need. And he's trying to get something going with them. And he wasn't just talking about keeping beef cheap. He was throwing a bone out there to the president of Argentina saying, hey, maybe we can do some more trading, take some of the tariffs and barriers off on their beef, and bring in a little more beef and start, you know, cutting down on the price of beef. But establishment beef, oh my God, they just stood right there and just demanded that he take that back. What a hill to die on. Argentina is not a big beef hub, guys. They raise about 1/4 as many cattle or as much beef as Brazil does. They're not a big importer of us. Last year we imported more beef into this country than we ever have in a year, and they were 8th largest. Now, back in the day, in the 60s and early 70s, Argentina was a larger cattle producer than Brazil. But, you know, starting about 1980, when Brazil started destroying all of the rainforest and grazing more cattle, and then, of course, your Brazilian packers started taking over the world's protein production, they started getting bigger, and they got a whole lot bigger. But, you know, why pick Argentina? We have always imported some beef. Where are we going to get it from? What's wrong with Argentina? They're not sending us enough to grease the pan. Guys, you know, and he was talking about Trump saying maybe he was going to quadruple the quota before the tariffs kicked in for Argentina beef. They've already went past their quota, so they've already been paying the tariffs. If we took in all of that beef, if he quadrupled their quota and we took all of that in, it would amount to as much beef as about 36% of one weekly production here in the United States. It's nothing. It is really nothing in the whole scheme of things. It doesn't amount to anything. Last year, we took in 3 times as much beef from Uruguay. Now, I'm thinking I want to trust the Argentina beef a little bit better than I'm trusting Uruguay. But it's just so frustrating that they decided to you know, overstep their bounds, piss him off. You know, if they were going to stand strong on something, maybe it would be Brazil. But Brazil's 2 of the big 4 packers, and so since they represent them, they don't want to do anything to rock that boat. But so frustrating, I tell you what, and it was unneeded. But still, Trump, enraged, sent out that Truth Social post there, and then it pissed off a lot of his followers. You know, I'm going to say that as small as we are in numbers, cattle producers and production agriculture people probably had more to do with Trump's winning the last election than he had to do with anything about the run-up in the market here of late. But just very, very frustrated there, guys. And I told you everything that I know, and it's the truth, guys. And then later on the day, they didn't end up having the formal announcement, which there wasn't going to be any media there anyway, so they just kind of scrapped that. Then they did put out a message from Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, and said some of the things that they're planning on doing to promote more beef production domestically, and it has mostly to do with making ground available, government program ground, CRP and things like that, making it more available. Where are we going to get the cows to turn them out, guys? You know, if they did that, where are we going to get the cows? We're not getting, you know, cattle from anywhere. You know, Canada's market is better than ours is. In fact, of late, due to the exchange rate, you know, Canada's been coming down and buying some of our feeder cattle, and then they're bringing back fat cattle and helping some there, but they got tariffs and barriers on both ends, so that's not going to help. We're not going to be getting it from Mexico because they can't seem to clean up their screwworm problem, and we're not going to be bringing them across the big pond there to much at all supply anyway. So it's going to take 2.5 years for these heifers that we have started to keep some back, 2.5 years before they increase beef production enough to lower the price. But who knows if they're going to lower the price? The only thing that's going to lower the price in a retail level is a drop in demand, because they're going to price that beef as high as they think they could sell it. And as long as they're selling it, as long as people want it and demand it, they're going to keep that price up high. And you know, evidently, you know, high prices take care of high prices and low prices take care of low prices. Evidently, the prices haven't got high enough to take care of that. They haven't backed off on buying our beef because it's a wonderful product. Everybody wants it. But I tell you what, it was just a big, big mess that didn't need to happen. And of course, when Trump come out with that post on Truth Social, and it didn't have anything to do with nuts and bolts of cattle production or markets, the board tanks. How many times have I been telling you on the last several weeks, you got to be careful what you say, and stop saying it when the board's open. Let people absorb it a little bit. He puts that Truth Social out in the middle of trading hours, and our feeder cattle contracts go down the limit. Down the limit except for the spot, and it was down 785 because it's got to match up with your CME feeder cattle index here in just a couple days, guys. But it didn't need to happen, and it was just a fail, and I tell you what, it frustrates me, and I hold that establishment beef more responsible than I hold Trump for that, because I tell you what, he's not used to people bowing up to him when they have no leverage in the game. But that's actually absolutely what they did. Guys, if you like this feeder flash, you can't find it on a regular basis, you can text the word flash to 209 Corbitt or 209-267-2488, and it'll be texted to you every morning. Talk about your board, and it was down hard after all that mess. October live cattle on Wednesday ended down 462 at 239.05. December down 560 at 239.82. Your back months were all down 590 to 702 on live cattle contracts, guys. October feeder cattle down 785 at 365.07 when our CME feeder cattle index sitting at 372, and they've got to come together here right away. November feeder cattle down 9 1/4, the full limit. Will be at expanded limits, and that's enough to take anybody's head off on Thursday, but settling at 364.22. Your back months were all down 922 to 925, and most all of them down the complete limit there. So expanded limits, hold on to your ass here on Thursday, guys. Corn for December, new crop corn, Chicago Board of Trade futures up 3 1/4 cents a bushel at 423. Soybeans for November up 4 cents at 1034 3/4, and your hard red winter wheat for December up 3.5 cents a bushel at 488.5. Your fat cattle trade, we did start to see some trade in the northern plains. We were all expecting to get several dollars more this week, and we've already seen trade steady and weaker than steady. Unbelievable, guys. This whole deal has cost a lot of people a lot of money. Cost people trading the board a lot of money. People that sold cattle today in your auctions, they were down hard. It cost them a lot of money. People that were forced to sell fat cattle because they need to get rid of them, and those that still have fat cattle to sell this week, going to cost them a lot of money. Iowa sold 2,400 head, live price 239 to 240. On Wednesday, dress price at 372. That was pretty much steady. Nebraska sold 600 head confirmed. I think they sold more after the 2 o'clock deadline to turn that information in. They've had 750 sell so far this week. The live price on Wednesday was 239, so that would be a buck lower in Nebraska. Kansas and Texas, of course, didn't trade a hoof. They're going to wait out and wait till the end of the week, which they should always do if they're not getting more money. But we did have a couple of fat cattle auctions. They were mostly done before all that stuff come out with Trump. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota, sold 1,200 head of slaughter cattle. Steady to firm was a trend. Conventional fat steers and heifers selling from 238 to 241.50. Program cattle from 240 to 244. Glacial Lakes Livestock up at Watertown, South Dakota had 850 head for their slaughter cattle auction. Market there was steady to firm, similar to Worthing there. Conventional fed cattle in Watertown sell from 228 to 239. Program cattle from 236 to 242. And big fat fed cows from 175 to 185. Box beef cutout values were mixed. Choice was down 128 at 370.65. Selects was up 104 at 353.61. Your slaughter continues to be disappointing. It's going to be very disappointing this week. So far through the first 3 days of the week, estimated cattle slaughter 327,000. That's 21,000 less than this point last week and 42,000 less than this point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Valley Grande Ranch feeders, they want your calves, whether it's just to grow them and put weight on them and then you take them back, or if you want them to take them all the way to finish, they can do that too. It's a family-owned operation since 1965. It's way up there in the north part of South Dakota, right on the North Dakota line. They've been doing this for a long time, guys, and they've got excellent facilities, all modern and good. They've got all kinds of protection from the elements and everything. They've got a long history with a death loss between 1% and 2% on straightening up balling calves and feeding them, guys. That's unbelievably good. Mark Archibald told me, looking at a cost to gain under 80 cents even on these balling calves, guys. If you've got yearlings to send, they'll take them. If you've got weaned calves, of course, they'll take those too. But so many people would like to retain ownership, but they aren't set up or don't want to wean their calves. They can do it for you there at Valley Grande. If you've got thin cows you want to add weight and value to, they'll take those. For more information, go to ArchBro, like Archibald Brothers, archbro.com. Talk about your feeder cattle markets, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance. They are working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index from DVAuction, based on an 800-pound cash auction steer in your sales, and this was after the conclusion of all your Wednesday sales. It was down 173, but your steer tracker, the last 25 lots of 5 or more that go in the index, was all the way up at 382.44. But like I mentioned earlier, your CME cash feeder cattle index, the latest available, was 372 smooth. Big sale coming up on Friday is Winter, South Dakota. They've got a calf and yearling special. They don't have a whole lot of yearlings, but the ones they have are really good, and then they're going to have droves of local calves there, guys. You can view and bid their sale at DVAuction.com. Let's talk about your big sales that happened on Wednesday. Of course, OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, had 7,400 head for their Tuesday and Wednesday sale, with calves on Tuesday, feeders on Wednesday. Your feeder steers sold $8 to $15 lower. Of course, they're tied closely to that board, guys. Feeder heifers, $5 to $10 lower. Some of your stalker heifers, those 6-weight heifers that sold so good last week, if you remember, could either go to feed or turn back out. They were sure $15 lower. Calves on Tuesday were unevenly steady, but of course they didn't have all that drama that went on Wednesday affecting them. Another big market happened on Wednesday was Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming. The boys are going to be hooking them up with DVAuction just as soon as they can get out there, and I'm excited about that. Torrington is a big market. It's got a storied past with the Madden brothers, and the people have marketed cattle there forever, and it's just a really kind of a feather in our hat to be involved with them at DVAuction. So we'd be proud to offer viewing and bidding at Torrington going forward after we get them hooked up here in a week or two. But they had 4,000 head in Torrington on Wednesday. The calves sold $3 to $5 lower, except for the lightweights weighing under 5.5, and they were unevenly steady. So of course the quality was so good there, and people wanted the calves that traveled out there to get them, and they didn't sell too much lower. Torrington was your Superior Steel Sales home of Superior Standard livestock handling equipment. Stick out sale of the day. You look at this automated market report through Cattle Market Central, get a kind of a good test of what's going on. 207 head of the 3-weight steer calves, had enough for them to really test the market. They averaged 366 with a weighted average price of $613.94. 502 head of the 4-weight steers averaged 442 at $556.01. There were 782 head of 5-weight steer calves in Torrington. They averaged 549 pounds with a weighted average price of 469.37. 303 head of the 6-weight steers averaged 658 at 404.49, and 353 head of 7-weight steers averaged 750 on the dot with a price of 380.05. Look at the heifers, 429 head, and you look how many fewer heifers that there are there. This market is enticing people to keep heifers. Just leave it alone. We don't need any more than that. We need some time is all we need. 429 head of 4-weight heifer calves averaged 457 at 473.69. 272 head of the 5-weight heifers averaged 538 at 413.16. And 201 head of the 6-weight heifers averaged 631 with a weighted average price of 373.69. Give you several individual quotes from all around the circuit. How about St. Onge Livestock, St. Onge, South Dakota? 100 head of 499, or same as 500-pound steers, bring 537. That ain't much cheaper. How about Fort Pierre Livestock Auction, Fort Pierre, South Dakota? They sell 109 head of 444-pound steer calves at $6.20 a pound. Wow. How about Stockman's Livestock in Yankton? The feeder sale there, we're always talking about the fat sale, but they have really good feeder sales too. But on Wednesday in Yankton, they sell 67 steers weighed 909 at $374.50. They've never brought much more than that, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day come out of Hub City Livestock in Aberdeen, South Dakota. Another DVAuction broadcaster there. They had 72 head of 860-pound steers at $395.25, and that's as close to a record you could call it a record right there. Unbelievably good. But that's your feeder flash for Thursday.